Hello, guys and gals, and this is a book review for Wings of Fire. This is one of the Legends books, and this one I think came before Legend Darkstalker, but I'm going through these in the order that I read them to a certain extent, because technically I've read a guide to the Dragon World prior to this one. Um, yeah. Also, I do have in my possession the um, the Winglets, all four of the Winglet stories. They came in one big book, but I'm going to be doing four separate reviews of each of the stories because they were initially separate books. I hope that's okay. But anyways, the amazing thing is, maybe I shouldn't say amazing. I think it's interesting. Our library did end up getting every single Wings of Fire book, apart from the stained glass colored pencil one and the how to draw the Wings of Fire dragons. Except I think I convinced them to actually get that one because I think they'll get that one. Um, but they actually have all the other books, which is kind of cool. So once I finish reading the Winglets, then I'll have read every single Wings of Fire book that's been published so far, minus the graphic novels. And I don't have anything against the graphic novels. Don't get me wrong. I don't think I'll ever do a review of the graphic novels. Since I've read the books, but I do realize that the graphic novels are different, but that's a different story. Let's get on with Wings of Fire Dragonslayer. This one is probably not a very popular one, and I think the reason is because the Wings of Fire books have been about dragons so far, and from the perspective of dragons. And they've had 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Is it 20 books? Well, let's see. There's 4 Winglets, 2 Legends books, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 6, 21. They've had 20 books that basically focused on dragons. This is probably the only book that actually has a perspective of a scavenger, aka a human. So, kind of a change of pace. And this book was massive. It was over 500 pages. But it's also the perspective of, oh boy, I want to say at least 3. Yeah, it is 3. 3 different people. And they're all from basically different walks of life, I would say. Now, what's notable about this one is, well, you see, I hadn't read this book before book 14. So spoilers, skip ahead a couple seconds if you don't want to be spoiled about book 14 or whatever. In book 14, we meet Sky. And that was my introduction to Sky. Because I'm like, well, who exactly is Sky and stuff like that. Because I hadn't really read this book. And this book is basically the origin of Sky and Ren. And Ivy and Leaf. You know, some very notable humans. What's neat about this book, Ingenious, is that it takes place at the same time as the Dragonette Prophecy, you know, the first book. So this is a different perspective of the first book, and it's really kind of amazing. I'm not going to go into any spoilers or anything, but this is definitely a book that's worth checking out. We learn about Rose. Rose is the scavenger that Smolder keeps, and Rose was one of the original humans that was responsible for, in an indirect way, responsible for the War of Sandwing Succession, because Rose was one of the humans that brought about the demise of Queen Oasis. And with the demise of Queen Oasis, then the 3 Sandwing sisters all, went to war. They all took different factions, and we all know how that went. That didn't really go all that well for anybody involved. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a different dragon. This is one of Burns' generals, I think, or something like that. But anyways, we learn quite a little bit, a lot actually, about how the humans are coping with the dragons taking over everything. You know, aka the scorching. We don't really learn anything much about the scorching till book 15. In book 15, we learn everything there is to know about the scorching and how it happened, and about Copperhead, not the Mudwing, but Copperhead the human. Um, and we learn about the scorching basically in book 15. In this one, this is a post-scorching world, and this is the way that the humans are dealing with it, and they're dealing with it different ways. Rin and her village, they have villages, but they're like tucked away, you know, with tree cover and shelters and stuff like that in case the dragons come by. They also ring bells and stuff like that. Ivy basically lives in an underground city, or one that's in the caves. So she doesn't get to see sunlight very often. So we get some stuff from her perspective. Also because her dad is like this legendary Dragonslayer, and was supposedly the one that dealt the killing blow to Queen Oasis. We also have Leaf, I believe. It's been a while since I've read the books, and I should probably make these reviews after, when everything's still fresh in my mind. But Leaf is basically Ren's brother, and we get everything from his perspective as well. So yeah. But what's amazing is the way things work out. And it's kind of the way that the Wings of Fire franchise works out. You know, how basically the prophecy worked out, even though it was not really a prophecy. It still worked out the way it did, and that was due largely in part to the scavengers helping the humans helping the dragons. And you get that quite a bit in this book as well. Some of the circumstances of meeting some of the characters meeting, and just some of the way that the things happened just right. And so yeah, what's really interesting is I haven't done it, but what you should do is, after you've read this book, what you need to do is you need to read the first 5 books. Then you need to read this book. And then you need to read the first 5 books again. And I think it would be mind-blowing, because you see the events differently, from a different perspective, from a different set of eyes. And I really like that. I think this book was a home run. I'm glad I read it. But yeah, without any spoilers at all, we also learn about something called the Invincible City, I think, or Indestructible City. I forget the exact name of it. It's on all the new maps, basically. The Indestructible City, which is supposedly dragon-proof. But see, I saw that on a map, and I had to look it up because I hadn't read this book yet. And I'm like, well, what is the Indestructible City, or whatever it's called? And that's when, it's from this book. And then one day when I went to the library, I just like haphazardly walked over to the shelf, and the book was there, you know. And that's the same thing with the winglets. So yeah, it's really a popular franchise at the library too. So it's kind of nice that you know. Plus, when Talons of Power and Legend of Darkstalker, which are both coming out this year, 2025, those graphic novels are coming out. I do plan to buy a copy for the library, just so that we have one. And if Jennifer wants to buy another copy for the library, then there'll be 2 copies there. I mean, I always think it's good to have more than one copy of a book there. especially with a popular series like that. I mean, back when Percy Jackson books were really popular, I mean, I donated several Percy Jackson books, even if the library had them, to the library because, I mean, hey, if somebody checks out a copy and then somebody else wants one, then you'll have an extra copy. I mean, it's just common sense, and it's just, granted, they can't all be on the shelf at the same time because we have very limited shelf space. But I mean, having a spare is always good. It's just like having a spare tire in your car. I mean, if you have a flat tire, then you always have the dummy donut you can just put on and you'll be fine. Well, not fine exactly because the dummy donut is terrible, but at least you're able to get to the next destination and you're able to get to a tire store and get a tire put on. But so having a spare book is always popular. I mean, useful. Anyways, but this book I think was amazing. Basically, a lot of things happen in book one that I think that went over my head, basically, and this basically highlights those. I remembered some of them, like vaguely because they kind of stood out, but yeah. Anyways, I should go over the plot a little bit. So, anyways, it's not going to be any spoiler, I don't think, is that Rin was not very popular in her village. And there's a group of people called the Dragonmancers, I think, or something like that, who supposedly were able to make deals with the dragons, and stuff like that. So, well, Rin would speak out of turn and really get on their nerves. So they basically took her and sacrificed her, supposedly to the dragons or something. But if they hadn't done that, then she wouldn't have met Sky. And so, yeah. Anyways, that made Leaf upset because Leaf and Rin were brother and sister and really good, friendly people, So Leaf set out to be a Dragonslayer to avenge his sister's death, but she really wasn't, dead. But he doesn't know that, and so, anyways, that's that. Anyways, this was an amazing book. It is a really long book, over 500 pages, I think, but it goes fast, and it's really fascinating to see the other side of the coin, so to speak, because we know how the dragons live. And through this book, we know how the humans live or tolerate the dragons, and the way they cope. But yeah, another amazing book. That's not to be anything to be surprised about because Tui is an amazing author, and an artist with words is what I would really like to say. So I'm really looking forward to book 16, which is in the works. And look forward to graphic novels for Talons of Power, which is book 9, I think it is. Wait. Let's see, it was Moon Watching, Winter Turning, Escaping Peril. Talons of Power is book 9. Okay. Had to go over them in my head. And Legend Darkstalker, which is kind of exciting. Now, granted, I know there's going to be some scenes that won't be in Legend Darkstalker because there's a scene in particular that I'm thinking of that is especially graphic. And I realized that, or it was pointed out, that they cut one of the graphic scenes from the first book. In fact, the first scene from the book is really graphic. But they cut it from the graphic novel, which is not surprising, really. They do have to keep the books PG. But it'll be interesting to see how they modify things, or if it's just something that's done, off the page, which I could basically see happening. Anyways, yeah. If you like the Wings of Fire franchise, then make sure you check out Legends Dragonslayer because, in my personal opinion, and it is just my opinion, it was a really, really good read. found that I couldn't put the book down because it was just a very compelling read, even though it did take a little bit longer than usual for me to read because it was a massive book. But it didn't, you really couldn't tell that it was a massive book because it was really well written. So yeah. But anyways, I think I've taken enough time. So yeah. Long story short, amazing book. You should check it out if you like the Wings of Fire franchise at all. When you should read it, I'm not sure. You need to have at least read the first 5 books for this to make sense, I think. The first 5 so yeah, the first 5 books, the first arc, you need to have read that, and then I'd suggest reading this book. So yeah. Anyways, that is going to do it for this video. If you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, or if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. You are loved, and have a great day. Oops.